Well, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Adam. Thanks for hanging out with me again today. And on today's episode, we're going to dig into what is in this Cox Bandido box. So a while ago, RCL gifted the channel 3 very cool, unique vintage kits. If you haven't seen that video, there's a link right here you can click on. Go back and check that one out. Since then, we have taken a look at one of them. This is the second one, and we do have one more to go. So sadly, I had recorded most of this already, and then things changed a little. So originally, when I got this kit, this is partially assembled. Whoever got it started putting it together and never did anything with it. So the intent was to build this kit and, run it around. Well, things have changed a little. So now we have another one. So this one is my own fault. So this is the kit that RCL sent over. And this one, I ordered that one off eBay. So the story behind this and how this came about was, I was looking to see what the parts availability was for these. If I break something, am I going to be able to find a part? And through looking for parts, I found this kit was up for sale. And it wasn't going for a lot of money. So upon investigating it, basically the kit is all here. At least I think it is. The problem was one of the pieces of the rear wheel is missing. So it has the other 3. It has all the tires. It has all the kit in here. But one of the rear wheels is unable to be put together because it's missing one of the plastic parts of the wheel. So he had thrown in some other tires and wheels that don't go to this kit and won't go onto this kit, but nobody was really bidding on it because it was so cheap, or it was missing those parts, and people are kind of leery about buying stuff like that. So what the plan is to take and build up one of the kits, leave one of the kits new in this box. So the biggest difference between this kit and this kit is this one is just the car alone. It had no electronics, it had no radio, no charger, no battery. This one was basically a fully ready to assemble and run kit, an RTAR, almost ready to run kind of thing. Basically it had all the electronics and everything you needed to get this car up and running, except for the paint, included in the kit. And we're going to leave this one as is. It's a really neat kit, having all the matching parts and pieces to go with it. So this one is going to stay in the box. This one is going to get built or finish being built, and this one's going to get run. I'll put new electronics in here. We'll put a 1060 in. We'll put, a modern-ish. We'll probably put one of the retro motors in it or something like that. But we'll get this one up and running and drive this one around and have fun with this one and be able to keep this as an awesome time capsule in part of the collection. So in order to get this car running, I had to order some wheels. Now sadly the wheels were almost half the price of what I paid for the entire kit. Now this kit came from Greece, so this I ordered through. It was shipped from Greece to here, and I think I only paid $110 for it total, something like that. I'll have to look again. I'll put the number down here. But these were from the US and cost me about $50 some. But these are the chrome rims, so it will kind of zhuzh this one up a little bit, make it look a little bit fancier than the white. But I needed wheels. And these are fairly unique wheels that go to the matching wheel hexes. And I'm sure I could have, figured out something to make it work, but we're going to keep it as close to original as possible, modern electronics, all that stuff. So I'm going to shush about that. What we'll do next is we'll go down and we'll take a look at the kit that RCL sent. We'll get up close and in person with this one. And then, we're going to end this video and I'm going to start working on this guy and getting it built. Hopefully all the pieces are there. Kind of hard to tell at the moment. I may have to, source a screw or two because there is some stuff floating around in the box, but we'll see. So let me change the camera, get you on the overhead, and we'll take a look at the kit that the RCL sent over. And Elf, I did this to myself. I need to stay off eBay. All right, guys, I hope you can see this well. Try to get some of the glare off of that. But this is the front of the box, and basically you can see it comes with the radio and the servos and the battery and the charger and everything you need to get this up and running, and you get the entire kit as included. So we'll take the lid off And again, this probably isn't exactly how it would have been presented to you when you bought it, but this is what we have working right now. So in here, you do have your clear Lexan body. So there is really protective film over it, but basically just to keep it from getting scratched. It's not going to protect you from overspray because it's not fully covering everything. So when you go to paint this, I'm going to have to tape off the edges and everything, but this still needs to be cut out. It's not fully cut out for you. It does have the wing included. Now again, has protective film on it, but not kind of all the way on it. Now this also has the little clear cover for the speed control and some rubber bands, which the rubber bands, if you can hear those rattling around, the rubber part left long time ago, and now they're just, plastic noodles. As you can see, we have basically the assembled chassis here. Like I said, this is something that somebody else already started, so I'll get that out in a second. You have your antenna wobbly, the little cool plastic piece that you could wind your excess antenna wire around, and then some other little bits and pieces. Now this also has the wheels and the front tires and axle on here. There's one axle in there and there's one axle in here, so we'll have to figure that one out as well. We have the light pods and the antenna flag for your radio and some other additional pieces in here. The switch cover, and this parts tree looks like some of the servo saver bits. It looked like that one broke at some point. But there's a new one on here, so evidently that probably what stymied this build was that servo horn cracked. So the battery is a 1200 milliamp NiCad pack, so this may take a charge, but if it does, it won't hold a charge very long. Now you have the quick charger in here, which was an old 15-minute egg timer pack. Now I believe this one, let's see. So this one is a car charger type. So you would have to, run this off of your car or a 12-volt power source like that. So for home use, not terribly great, but out in the field, it would work fine. And then in this one, we have the full radio. So obviously the servos are missing out of here, but you have your 4-cell battery pack and switch to turn the car on and off. You have your Cox Sanwa receiver. So the radio system was made by Sanwa, rebranded for Cox. So again, a Cox kit, but not really any Cox parts. Now the radio is really nice. You have nice knurled aluminum grips here. So they have a nice tactile feel to the top. You have kind of the edges of those knurling. And then, if you're a finger grabber like that or a thumb user, the knurling on there is really nice. You have your battery indicator, on-off switch. Your batteries go in the back, very tight. So you have a removable 8-cell package in there, so you put your batteries in. Now I like these because back in the day, I would never want to leave the batteries in the remote in case one leaked. But I would leave the batteries in the little tray and just pop the tray out. That way if something leaked, I could just clean off the terminals in some baking soda and water and, get them cleaned up. But, it wouldn't ever damage the radio. So I do like that. And then, of course, we're yellow to match the ribbon of the radio, whatever the yellow channel 4 frequency is. But yeah, a very nice controller overall. It's very comfortable it's a thick controller. It would be hard for a kid to hold just because it is so thick, but for an adult, it's a perfect size. And of course, the 3-mile wibbly wobbly antenna on top. So you have your full instruction manual, all the information about, the radio system, and an actual toll-free Cox hotline number in case you had issues with the car. Now we have original decals here. Now, obviously, with the other kit, I'm pretty sure there's decals in there as well. But, if I need decals for this, I'll probably order some from MCI just because, I'm not going to use this kit decals to build the other car. And again, this is the chassis, pretty much already built. It basically has friction shocks all the way around, front and rear. And this right here is the weirdest part about it. That little piece right there that flexes is the actual front suspension, pivot point. So upper and lower are both this plastic, and you can see it's whiter in there where it has flex. So, eventually it will wear out, it will break. And if you see in there, you can see that little paddled dog bone in there. So the hubs are slotted, and that dog bone has basically a 4-way cross on it that fits those slots. Now, it works great right now, but get a bunch of sand and dust and debris in there and it starts grinding away at all that plastic, I'm sure that would get a terrible lot of slop in it and eventually probably break your drive shafts. But, bone stock, it's fine. Let's see, we have a Mabuchi 540, RS 540 motor in there, so probably almost identical to the Tamiya style Mabuchi motors that they used to run. Has the black end bell on it. But again, friction shocks. This has the wiper style of speed controller, so you would have basically almost a little bit better proportional speed forwards and backwards. So you had a neutral position, which right there you have no contact, and then basically this is a positive, and then this is a negative, and basically as it would wipe back and forth, one way is reverse, sending polarity one way, and then the other way would be forward, flipping the polarity and driving the motor in the other direction. So basically your first channel steering servo would run your steering, your second channel steering, or your second channel servo would run your speed controller. So this is a new style ESC or mechanical speed controller for me, because normally the Tamiya one has basically 3 steps forward, 3 steps reverse, and then it has a separate resistor, to where this one, I think this is how it actually has the resistance built up in that coil. I don't know. This is a new one for me, so I'm not sure. But again, this one's not going to run. We'll get it, we'll fix, get the axle back in here, get the tires on here. Well, I'll probably leave the tires off, leave this in the box, and this will be the quote new in box one, even though that it's been partially assembled. So as you can see, the box art on this one is kind of the alternative paint scheme, the yellow with the red. Now, I personally like the black and the red. It looks tougher. I know a lot of people like the yellow because that's mainly what a lot of people saw, especially in this advertisement down here. So again, this one was partially built as well. So in this one, we'll take a look at the manual, which that is actually the cover. And then we get into the manual of how to build it. Now, these instructions are similar-ish to Tamiya, where you have each step broken out and then the hardware over here, but it's a little bit more cluttered looking, but overall about the same design. You were taking, for this step, you're using these parts, and on and on. So fairly similar to the classic Tamiya manuals, but it was probably done by Kyosho at the time, I'm not sure. So you also get your full parts breakdown, and then you have back here where it's talking about the option parts. So you could get the oil filled shocks for these, which are basically just the Kyosho bottom cartridge shocks, and then you could get the ball bearings for it, which this actually takes a odd flanged ball bearings on the rear, but the front, I believe, are all about the same. Yeah, because that's a regular. Yeah, so it just looks like the rears have that 6x10 flange bearing on it. Now this one does have a brand new wing and pretty shiny body. Again, still not cut out, so we'd have to cut around all these lines. So this is the body we'll be using. It's not scratched up or scraped up or anything, so it's in very good shape. And the wing, again, has film on it, but just to keep it from getting scratched up, it's not going to protect it from paint. So these are the chrome wheels. So this is, factory Kyosho stuff for it. Front end is all assembled, just needs to be attached to the chassis. And I'm assuming they did that for shipping reasons, take that off to where it fits in the box better. Same black in-bill Mabuchi motor. Now, these, you can see, have not been prepared, as they're just pre-cut, but not tinned or anything like that. So you would build this and have to be required to solder stuff on, which is different than, you know, a Tamiya kit. But again, you can see the different kind of hubs that these take. So it has 4 prongs on the outside that catch the holes on the back side of the wheels. So this chassis is almost identical. Well, it is identical to the Icarus and Pegasus chassis. We have the remainder of the parts tree here to put, you know, the lights and the servo mounts and everything. We have another screw bag. Then we have the speed controller. So you have your motor wires that you would solder together to the wires coming off the motor, and then your battery lead, which this is a really, and I just noticed this isn't a Tamiya battery plug. It's Tamiya-ish, but it is not a Tamiya plug. I just realized that. So we may have to put a Tamiya plug on there, unfortunately, to run this. But again, this just wipes back and forth to, you know, add your forwards and reverse. And again, the big wibbly wobbly looks like a thing of grease, some Kyosho hobby grade grease, which looks like is no longer. So hopefully they've greased everything. But I'll be taking everything apart. There's some more hardware in there. There's the Lexan cover for the speed controller. Some more of the documentation, setting up. Oh, so this was interesting. So this is a before assembly. They want you to completely flex the suspension arms all the way up and all the way down to loosen that plastic on those pivot joints. So that was very interesting. And the same in the rear, that little plastic piece that pivots on the rear trailing arms, they want you to flex those back and forth as well. Now we have the one rear wheel and the empty other wheel, so it's missing the faceplate. Alright guys, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on getting this thing stripped down, cleaned up, make sure the grease hasn't gone hard, anything like that, and get it put together. Now, I will have to order the decals from MCI. Unfortunately, I had not checked that yet. But again, I don't want to ruin the other kit by removing those decals from it. But RCL, thank you so much for your gift. Like I said, I'm going to keep that in the box. You know, maybe one of these days I'll build it and it will be completely a shelf queen. And, you know, maybe do both paint jobs. Have one yellow, we'll have one in the black. But I do like the black, so I believe this one's going to have the red chassis and the black shell, which I think looks really sick. Just got to get the decals for it, which no big deal. But I will work on getting this done. We'll have another video of that once I have it built and we're able to get it outside and take it for a run. So I hope you guys enjoyed kind of the look inside the box. So before we leave, I did want to give you as little bit of history as I can of what this car is and, you know, roughly where it came from. So Cox was basically a model engine builder for glow engines for airplanes and some cars. They mainly stayed to the airplane engines for both control line and, you know, RC powered airplanes, but they also ventured towards doing control line RC cars, which, if you're not familiar with those, basically you had a post and a long string with your car, and you would just get the car running and push it along, and it would just zing around in a circle, and basically you just saw how fast you could get your little car to go with this little static engine on it and zinging around in a circle. They ventured into making some of those cars and trying to make some RC cars. This was a big step towards trying to make, you know, popular mainstream type cars. These were electric versus their gas industry that they basically made themselves famous for. Now, this is not a Cox kit. It's a Cox RC, but basically this is a Kyosho, Icarus, Pegasus, Cosmo. The chassis is basically that Pegasus, you know, I think most people are familiar with the Pegasus or Icarus, but basically it's a Pegasus with a different body and different, you know, electronics in it. So they made this kind of both a kit version, as we said before, and a kind of everything encompassing version. Now, a lot of these were sold in major toy stores or some big department store chains throughout the late 80s and early 90s. They were offered in some local hobby shops, but most local hobby shops didn't like them. So when you went into a local hobby shop back then, you know, you bought your kit and they made a little bit of money off that kit. But they also wanted to sell you a battery and a charger and a radio and all that stuff to go with it to build out that full package. So they got a, you know, sale from each one of those pieces, to where this was kind of that full package, low price deal that made it very appealing in like a toy store or a department store environment, but really kind of didn't appeal to the local hobby shops because you're only getting one chunk of, you know, all of that profit. So it was more profitable to the local hobby shops to stick with Tamiya and Kyosho and stuff like that, and then sell you a Futaba radio and, you know, a charger and a battery and all this stuff separately, because they would make more money. And for a business, you know, that makes a lot of sense. So these weren't terribly popular in local hobby shops. Now I know some did carry them, especially out in the Midwest. But it seems like these were mainly in the toy stores and some of the bigger department stores. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed kind of the walkthrough of, you know, two kits, one kit turned into two kind of thing. Yeah, I can't help myself sometimes. Everybody out there, you guys be happy, be healthy, be safe, and I will catch you on the next one. See you guys.